Hey everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are going to try to unravel the mysteries of thyroid hormone receptors.
Oh, yeah.
These tiny but mighty proteins that play a huge role in how your body functions.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be exploring how they act like a molecular switch, controlling things like your metabolism, growth, and even brain development.
Right.
And you won't believe what happens to tadpoles when they lack thyroid hormone.
What happened?
They grow into giants. But more on that later. Let's start with the basics.
Okay.
So what are thyroid hormone receptors exactly?
Well, what's fascinating about thyroid hormone receptors, or TRs, is that they're transcription factors.
Okay.
Basically, they bind to your DNA and act like a control panel, dictating which genes get turned on and off.
Interesting.
And as you might imagine, that has a ripple effect on a ton of bodily functions.
So TRs are like the master regulators, making sure everything runs smoothly.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
But I've always been confused about T3 and T4, those thyroid hormones we always hear about. Can you break down what those are all about?
Absolutely. Think of T4 as the understudy waiting in the wings.
Okay.
It's the inactive form of thyroid hormone that circulates in your bloodstream. But when the time is right, T4 gets converted into T3, the star of the show.
Oh, okay.
T3 is the active form that directly interacts with those TRs, flipping those genetic switches on or off.
Okay, so T4 is the backup and T3 is the main player.
Got it. Now walk me through how these TRs actually work their magic step by step.
Sure. Imagine a relay race.
Hmm.
In the absence of T3, the TRs are bound to your DNA.
Right.
But they've got these corepressors attached.
Okay.
Think of the corepressors as the first runner holding the baton.
Mm-hmm.
They keep gene expression on hold.
So things are pretty quiet until T3 comes along. What happens then?
Well, when T3 enters the picture, it binds to the TR, causing a shift in its shape. This is like the first runner passing the baton to the next.
Okay.
The corepressors detach, and coactivators swoop in to bind.
So it's like a tag team with corepressors handing off to coactivators.
Does this shift kickstart gene expression?
Exactly. With coactivators in place, gene expression shifts into high gear, impacting metabolism, growth, and other vital processes.
Wow.
And a critical part of this whole process is a specific region on the TR called helix 12.
Okay.
It's like the key that turns the ignition for this whole switch from repression to activation.
Helix 12, got it. It sounds like it plays a pretty important role.
It does, and to highlight just how important helix 12 is when mutations occur in this region, it can lead to a condition called resistance to thyroid hormone, or RTH. This disorder can cause a range of symptoms from growth problems to developmental delays.
Oh, wow.
It's like having a broken key. The whole system can't function properly.
Wow. That really underscores how crucial these receptors are for our overall health.
Yeah.
But luckily, our bodies have ways of keeping things in check, right? You mentioned feedback loops earlier.
Yes, our bodies are incredibly intricate.
Yeah.
They have these complex feedback loops within the hypothalamus-pituitary-thyroid axis.
Wow.
Think of it like a thermostat constantly monitoring and adjusting your thyroid hormone levels to stay within a healthy range.
So it's all about balance, like
Yeah.
a delicate dance between hormones and receptors. But what happens if something disrupts this balance?
Well, that's when things can go awry. Mutations in those TR genes can throw a wrench in the works, disrupting those finely tuned processes and potentially leading to various metabolic disorders.
So you're saying even small changes in these receptors can have a ripple effect throughout the entire body. It makes you realize how interconnected everything is. Can you give us an example of a specific disorder that can arise from these mutations?
One fascinating case is the VRBA oncogene.
Okay.
It's actually a mutated form of a TR that's been linked to certain types of cancer.
Cancer. That's scary stuff. So how do we address these thyroid dysfunctions when they arise? Are there ways to restore that delicate balance?
Thankfully, there are therapies that focus on restoring proper hormone levels and getting those TRs back on track.
Yeah.
It's all about fine-tuning that balance. But what's really fascinating is that scientists are exploring new frontiers in thyroid hormone research. You see, it might not just be about overall hormone levels. We're starting to understand that there might be even smaller systems at play within individual cells, these intriguing microdomains.
Microdomains. That sounds pretty complex. Can you explain what those are in a way that even I can understand?
Imagine that each cell in your body has its own mini control panel, and these microdomains are like specialized departments within that panel, each responsible for specific tasks. There are these tiny localized areas within a cell where signaling might be concentrated.
So we're talking about signaling happening on a super small scale, How do these microdomains even form within such a tiny space?
Well, it is, but our cells have a clever way of managing this. They use special proteins called kinase anchoring proteins, or AKKIPs for short. You can think of AKBs as the organizers of a signaling party. They make sure everyone's in the right spot at the right time.
So they're like the traffic directors of the cell, making sure everything flows smoothly.
That's a good way to put it.
I'm starting to see how this might tie back to thyroid hormone receptors. Are these microdomains and AKPs involved in how our bodies respond to thyroid hormones?
That's a question researchers are actively exploring, and the implications are pretty exciting. You see, if microdomains are involved in regulating thyroid hormone action, it could explain why some people respond differently to thyroid medications, even when their blood tests show normal hormone levels.
That's a really important point.
Mhm.
Could it be that those hormone levels are normal overall, but not are reaching their target tissues effectively
Right.
because of disruptions in these microdomains? It's like having a perfectly good key, but the lock itself is jammed.
That's a great analogy, and it highlights the need for more research in this area. If we can get a better grasp on how microdomains function in the context of thyroid hormone signaling, it could revolutionize how we diagnose and treat thyroid disorders. We could be on the cusp of personalized thyroid therapies tailored to an individual's microdomain profile.
Wow, that's incredible to think about. So we've covered a lot of ground today, from TRs acting as these master regulators to the dynamic duo of T3 and T4, the crucial role of Helix 12, those feedback loops keeping everything in balance, the potential for disruptions leading to metabolic disorders, and now these mind-blowing microdomains. It's amazing how these tiny receptors are involved in so many different processes.
It really is a testament to the complexity and elegance of our bodies, and while there's still much to discover, the research so far has given us some pretty remarkable insights into how these tiny molecular switches impact our health.
I'm curious, thinking back on everything we've discussed, what stands out to you as particularly significant or surprising?
For me, it's the sheer complexity of the regulatory networks at play. We've got feedback loops, multiple receptor types, and now the potential for localized signaling within microdomains. It's like a perfectly orchestrated symphony with all these different players working together to create a harmonious whole.
I totally agree. And it also underscores the importance of understanding these complexities when it comes to developing more effective therapies for thyroid dysfunction. It's not just about overall hormone levels, it's about the intricate interplay of receptors, signaling pathways, and gene expression all working together.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And I think that leads perfectly into a final takeaway for our listeners. As you continue to explore the world of thyroid hormone receptors, keep that complexity in mind. It's a fascinating journey into the inner workings of your body.
Well said. Now, before we wrap things up, we want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to ponder. Ready for it? Hit me with it. I'm ready to have my mind blown.
All right, here it is. Given the potential role of microdomains in regulating thyroid hormone action, could this explain why some individuals experience persistent symptoms of hypothyroidism even when their blood tests indicate normal thyroid hormone levels?
That's a fascinating question. It really makes you think about whether our current diagnostic tools are giving us the whole picture.
Yeah,
Are we missing something by just focusing on those overall hormone levels?
exactly. It's possible that those hormone levels are indeed normal in the bloodstream, but might not be reaching their target tissues effectively because of disruptions in those localized microdomains.
It's like having a perfectly good key, but the lock itself is jammed, as we said earlier.
Precisely. And it highlights the need for further research to unravel the mysteries of these microdomains. Imagine the possibilities if we could understand how they function in the context of thyroid hormone signaling.
Right.
It could open up new avenues for diagnosis and treatment, leading to more targeted and effective therapies for those struggling with thyroid disorders.
I'm so glad we had this deep dive today. It's really given me a whole new perspective on the complexity and elegance of thyroid hormone receptors and their impact on our health. Who knew so much was happening at such a tiny scale?
It's truly remarkable, isn't it? And
Yeah.
remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration. There's a whole world of information out there waiting to be discovered. Perhaps you'll be the one to make the next groundbreaking discovery in the field of thyroid health.
That's a challenge I'm excited to take on.
Yeah.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of thyroid hormone receptors. We hope you learned something new and exciting today and that it sparks your curiosity to explore even further. Until next time, keep those brains firing and those thyroids happy.